In the name of God, we continue with another class on emotional intelligence. We have explained that emotional intelligence is an intellectual ability of the human being to control, direct, manage, and administer our emotions, our feelings, our love, and our hatred. This will make us happy and help us develop our personal skills, allowing us to reach our purposes and goals. Today we want to answer how and why emotions and affections influence a person's thoughts, mindset, and intellect. What is that relationship like? How does it work? How exactly are thought and intellect affected by emotions? Look, first, each emotion, each feeling triggers a hormone in the body, which means the body is affected by the emotional state. When a person is very angry, very irritated, you can see that the physical appearance of that person is going to change. Adrenaline is processed in the body in a way that prepares it to do something explosive, to do something strong, to do something violent. The muscles, the body, I don't know, everything is prepared to receive the maximum surprise, to, we can say, act in a violent way. This means that the body will prepare itself thanks to those hormones that come from an emotional state. Or on the contrary, when a person desires something, for example, lust, causes their emotional state to, we can say, rise. So the level of emotional state is rising in the meantime. The body is preparing. Right. So that person, that fire of lust, 2001, is going to control even the body. And the body will be excited, ready to do something. We can say, I don't know, emotional, sexual, whatever. So you see, anger, lust, or any other type of emotions directly affect the body. When the body is excited, it is provoked, it is prepared to act in an emotional way that, depending on this emotion, what that emotion desires, what it wants, or what it hates, will weaken the thought. We can say the rational state of the human being. The emotional state of the body, the hormonal state of the body, prevents the intellect from functioning normally, hindering the intellect from making a logical, intellectual decision in such difficult moments. Thus, the person falls in love and succumbs to sin. So, in Islam as well, in the teachings of the Most Holy Jesus, it says to control the eye to avoid falling into fornication. Because if you let your eye wander and make lewd glances everywhere, that will provoke you. And when you are going to be provoked, excited, it is not that you lose control, but rather that the intellect will be so weak. In a lustful person, the weak point is the intellect. That intellectual weakness will cause that person to lose the human ability to control their body, turning them into an animal driven only by feelings, emotions, lust, and anger. It will be like an irritated wolf and will devour everything in front of it. It will be like an irritated bear, and it will be like a lustful donkey. This means that the human being practically loses the human ability, which is intellect, and will fall into what we can call natural ability, which is what animals have. The natural instinct that belongs to animals. So it is clear that our emotional state will also affect our thinking and intellect. Even more, when we are thinking, does it mean we are in a process of reaching a conclusion? What is it that we are doing? First, we receive data from the outside world. We look, listen, touch, and receive the data. Meanwhile, we are receiving the data. The data is not pure data, rather it is affected by the emotional state. What does this mean? When I see a person, while I am looking at them, it is not just the image that I am capturing, but they also evoke an emotion. I can say that I like or dislike that person. So when I receive the image of that person, along with that image, you receive the emotional state, or we can say your emotional position in front of that image is my friend and I love him very much. The image, the head and the face, that person along with an emotional state. So you receive the information and you receive your emotional position, and these are together, which means that image in your head has two aspects. Aspects of, we can say, data and emotion. When you remember Juan Jose Antonio, a former friend with whom you later had a fight, the image of that person comes along with the memory of the last fight. Those memories are also intertwined with emotions. So, what we perceive from the outside world, what we receive, is mixed with use and the emotional state. People's memories are also intertwined with emotional states. For example, do you remember an ex of yours, right? That the last time how he betrayed you and how I don't know how he stole the money, etc., etc., how he lied to you. He always lied to you. So, this will even provoke you. It means that memories will make you happy or they will make you unhappy. Why? If it is just pure data, a certain fact, it has no effect. But since it is a fact, along with a state, with an emotional position, remembering a good memory will make you happy. You remember a bad memory. This emotional position of hatred, anger, and resentment will irritate you, will make you upset. You remember an ugly thing, you suffer. You remember a beautiful thing, you feel joy. Now your state is that you are sitting here and nothing is happening, but you feel joy. Why do you feel joy? Because the data accumulated in your head, the memories accumulated in your head are linked with the emotional position. What happens? Then I'm already sitting here thinking, for example, about making a decision, which career should I choose? In the meantime, I'm considering which career I am going to study. I am using previous data, memories. All memories are along with an emotional state, with an emotional position. I hate that person, so I don't like it. I won't take this career. Even though it may be that in the outside world this career has been the most beneficial for me, but because of that emotional state I have, it will affect my intellectual conclusion. It means that it doesn't allow me to reach an intellectual conclusion. For example, the last time I had a French teacher, it was a teacher who always bothered me, mocked me in front of everyone, and avoided me in class. So the image, let's suppose that the image I have of the French language is associated with the image of a person who was a French teacher or the French professor. Putting all this together, I will have an imagination. Many times it is called prejudice, and many times we can call it a memory, an experience. Experience is more than prejudice. They say prejudice when it no longer has true foundations, but it is a bitter experience, remember? A bitter experience. Now that will be part of the data you are analyzing to reach a conclusion. So it will draw a conclusion. Supposedly it is intellectual, but it is truly emotional. So it is important to understand the role of emotions and feelings in memories and data. When data is mixed with emotions, the conclusions you draw and how you analyze the topic will lead you to emotional conclusions. Even when you think it is pure intellect that is deciding, for you it is a lie. 2001. It is your emotions that are provoking you, pushing you towards a decision. And many times, when emotions are strongest, in a person with weaker intellectual ability, who cannot decide, who cannot see the data neutrally without emotions, that person will make more hasty rush decisions. This will lead to many failures for that person. Why? Look, brother, when you put on the lens of emotions, you will not see the truths, you will not see the realities, because a fanatic, fundamentalist person is like a blind person. Imagine it's a Sunday, someone is knocking at the door of the house, you open it and ask who they are. They are two Mormon boys. They have brainwashed him, which means they have induced an emotional state of resistance, to the point that his intellect is practically closed off. Everything you say, and the boy resists. This means the resistance is provoked. Resistance is an attitude, insistence is an attitude, and it stems from an emotion they have instilled in him, whether it be hate or love. Therefore, that person resists. That person insists on what they are doing. And you see two Mormon boys, they come knocking on the door and insist, or Jehovah's Witnesses, or whatever these guys are, or they call Tabli Pakistan. They come, they insist, they bother you, and they are not going to change. They are like blind. When does fanaticism take hold? Fanaticism will blind a person regardless of what religion the fanaticism belongs to. The problem arises when we abandon intellectuality and fall into our emotions, and that comes from selfishness. So it is very dangerous for a philosopher to have, we can say, the emotional tendency 2009. That is why when a person is corrupt, they are sinful. For example, if they have a gay tendency, I don't know, homosexual, they are Wahhabi, these are ugly things, they are Zionist. These people who have a tendency towards a corrupt political party, towards a corrupt practice, towards a sin, whatever it may be, that person in their mentality is affected by this emotion, by that tendency. So that person's entire thinking is contaminated by that. It's not that you say that person, no matter if they are gay, is a good philosopher. No, brother. That gay tendency affects that person. So it always says in the narratives, choose a believing, pious friend. Why pious? Because piety helps. Piety is a tendency towards God. It is a tendency to practice what is best. It helps that person make the best decisions and will illuminate their thoughts. Why is believers' attitude different? Because that faith, that tendency, will give a different color to its accuracy. In the sacred Quran, it calls it Sabkatullah, the color of God, and asks what the best color is. Only the color of God. It means that yes, I am a human being. So, my attitudes, my thoughts will have a color of emotions. Which emotion am I going to choose? Mundane love or love for God. So if I cannot let go of love because love is a part of my life, you have the heart. As long as you are living and you are a human being, you are an emotional being. So the first step is to correct our emotions. To uproot the love of sin, acting without repentance does not work. What does that mean? If I have a tendency towards a sin, such as ambition, lust, etc., all the attitudes of that person are affected by the tendency towards sin. So, repentance means at every moment, if you have committed any sin, to uproot the love of sin from your heart in order to continue and grow. If not, if I have the love of such sin, X, Y, etc., any sin, then all my attitudes will take on the color of that love contaminated by sin. So in Islam it says that only God will accept the righteous. Ina mai attacks Balbalo Losmina, the museum. God only accepts the pious. What does pious mean? It means a person who has purified their heart and then acts. Meanwhile, if there is a tendency towards any sin or any worldly love in your heart, your attitudes will reflect the emotional color of that tendency. So any attitude, even if you pray, you are showing off because it has a tendency. We can say that human beings are very complicated and emotions play an important role. Why should a physicist be a believer in order to benefit society? Because if one is not a believer, they will rely on the physical. The physicist will use physical science for his own benefit. Supposedly, this is a worldly trend. So he will make a nuclear bomb, for example, or a chemist will make a chemical bomb, because all that matters to him are his worldly tendencies. When he makes bombs, he gets paid better, so he doesn't care about the consequences. The problem of being human, the conflicts, the wars, arises when a person has abandoned intellectuality, clear and crystallized thinking. But the problem arises when a person allows their thinking to be contaminated by worldly emotions. We need to develop this from the heart. Therefore, what we need today are pious, believing physicists who have the fear of God present in every attitude, in every decision they are making. We need pious, believing bankers who do not charge usury so that they do not deceive the people. We need believing governors. So a gay person is not fit to be governor. It cannot be. It will not be. Therefore, we need a pious being. An example of this is the waliye, the faqih. Waliye faqih means a wise person who has abandoned ambition, who has left behind any worldly tendencies, is pious, is devoted, is zahid, a person who has forsaken love for material worldly things and lives as the poorest. And that is called the wise governor, Ayatollah, who can manage a government that will be like Ayatollah Imam Khomeini and like Ayatollah Sedali Khomeini. These people can indeed lead society because they have already let go of the negative emotions that affect a person's decision making. On the contrary, when you appoint a governor who is an ambitious, lustful, sinful person, all decisions will be affected by the state, that moral decay that this person suffers. Then all his decisions will lead him and his society to decay according to another decay and the unhappiness that he will bring to a society. So one of them is going to be Hitler, another is going to be Obama, another is going to be Trump, another is going to be Netanyahu, all pharaohs of their time. On the contrary, when Moses comes, the first thing he does is break the idols, fighting against Pharaoh's temple and the idols they are worshipping. And the struggle of Moses continues to this day. Well, let's conclude the part that we have explained. Emotions affect intellect. They affect thinking. 2001. So how can we purify our thoughts like a clean mirror? It can show us reflect reality, not something false. For that you need to control your emotions. For that you need to purify your tendencies. This is called emotional intelligence, a skill to say no to emotions, to control emotions, to uproot negative emotions, negative feelings, and negative desires. They must be uprooted. Human beings need to be controlled by themselves. This is called piety. It is the condition for all our acts to be accepted by God. Well, when an event is happening in the outside world, how do we see it and how do we interpret it? For example, a political election has taken place. The presidential election of the country. They have elected a president, or this happened, or there were inflations, etc. Any event in the real world, how do we analyze it? Does our analysis depend on what we receive from the data? Have we said how we capture it? Through an emotional perspective, it means I either hate it or love it, and that is how I will receive this information. We are going to combine it with previous memories, the current data with past memories. And then we start to interpret it the same way. In the meantime, while we are interpreting, we do not stop being emotional beings. We continue to be emotional beings. So the data is mixed with emotions. Memories are mixed with emotions. And now that I am analyzing it, I am seeing it, and we can say reflecting on it. And now I also have the mix of emotions. Hating someone, I am analyzing it. Loving something, I am analyzing it. Love, hate, any other emotion towards places, people, events, whatever, actions. So mixing all of that will lead to a conclusion, a supposedly thought that is not realistic, it is emotional. When a person leaves their life in the hands of emotions, they are doomed to failure, because emotions are up today, down tomorrow, and then you will have a very unstable life, where you are losing your purposes every day. You don't know where to go, because today you are interested in one thing, and tomorrow you are interested in another. Today you will make a supposedly intellectual decision. When a drug addict decides to continue using drugs, it's not that if you ask him if he has thought about what he is doing, he says, of course, I have thought about it very well, so why am I going to continue using drugs? Because all the decisions she has made were affected by an emotion, by a tendency towards drug addiction. Thus, other sinners think this way without considering the real consequences of something. Thus, a person is losing every day, perverting themselves, and one day they will open their eyes, but it will be too late because they are being put in the grave and must answer for everything they have done. The consequences of their sins affect them, preventing them from achieving success, and they will always feel repressed. We could say disappointed, and will feel that they have not reached what they were looking for. Think about it. If you are one of those people, you must change today. And that class on emotional intelligence is to help you to control your emotions, to develop yourself, to be able to control yourself in order to achieve success. In the next class, we will talk about emotional intelligence and the development of personal skills. How emotional intelligence can help us grow to be great men, to be great leaders, and God willing, see you tomorrow. May God bless you.